Issho debuted on the global version of One Piece Treasure Cruise on the 11th of August 2016. This was a pretty significant event as it introduced a new pull mechanic in the game known as the 10+1 pull, or dubbed by the community, multi-pulls. This particular Sugo-Fest batch introduced further Dressrosa characters, and these characters included units such as Riki, the Mystery Swordsman, Leo, Tontata Corps Leader, Mancherry, Princess of the Tontata Tribe, Kyros, former captain of the Riku Royal Army, as well as Toadskii, the Kano Kingdom Gang. And introducing a brand new Sugo-Fest exclusive character which had a very powerful captain effect, allowing you to treat certain slots as beneficial to your team, which is something that we had never seen before this point. Additionally, boasting a very high attack multiplier and a lot of HP multipliers as well, granting additional tankiness throughout the fight, as well as having a special ability that would provide an HP cut on multiple different turns, allowing the toughest of enemies to be cut down to size. Introducing Issho, otherwise known as Fujitora. In this series, we'll be traveling back in time to experience some of the older Sugo-Fest exclusive characters in their prime, aiming to show just what it was like to use these characters on their debut. I hope you enjoy the video, and without further ado, let's enter the Legends of OPTC. Thank you very much for taking on another episode of the Legends of OPTC series, and in this video we're going to be covering a very special Sugo-Fest exclusive character. On release, a lot of people considered this character to be the best unit in the game, as this was the first legend up until this point that had introduced a really cool captain effect to make certain slots beneficial for your team, which was extremely good. We'll go through his abilities in a little bit, but we have a bunch of rare recruits to talk about first. First of which is going to be Riki. Riki is an int cerebral striker, and his captain effect was a 2x health and attack to int characters, which is pretty bad, but then he had a special ability changing quick and size slots into int. Very specific, not really good. I mean, 10-turn cooldown was okay, but the fact that it was like just only 2 slots into int, yeah, just this character never saw play and was never a very useful unit at all. Moving on now, we've got Leo. Leo is a striker free spirit unit. This unit was used on free spirit teams a little bit back in the day, being a quick unit, getting some quick damage is pretty good. Captain ability would boost the attack of striker and free spirit by 2.25 and giving them a 1.5 recovery boost, and then a special ability on a 15-turn cooldown. Well, it was a 16-turn cooldown because there was no limit break, of course. Delays all enemies for 1 turn, locks all orbs for 1 turn, and gives a 20% health cut to all enemies. Back in like 2016, this was a very, very good special ability. I mean, being able to provide a delay, which helps, but also orb locking was pretty useful back in 2016 and is even more useful these days too. But then a health cut, because normal attacks only wasn't really popular back then either. Always a useful rare recruit to have, and Leo, as I said, was very good for free spirit teams. Now, Mancherry is a character that does actually still see some niche play and some niche usage today. So, Mancherry is a striker free spirit and has a captain effect that would recover 4 times her recovery at the end of the turn, so just purely recovery. But then the special was very good. 18-turn cooldown is very high, but it recovers 50 times her recovery in health, removes paralysis, poison, recovery down, and blindness completely. Completely getting rid of paralysis was very good, because there weren't many good utility units back in the day. So now we're seeing more utility units come into the light now, and being able to remove blindness was also kind of nice because, again, there really weren't many uses or many ways to get around blindness, so this is very valuable in this unit. So Mancherry, as I said, is not like a character that you see every day, but is a character that sometimes may see play in today's day and age. Moving on now, we got Kyros, who is a dex slasher powerhouse, and his captain effect would boost the attack of 30 or less cost by 2.5 times. Not a very good captain ability, but then a special ability that would deal dex damage to a single enemy and changes his own slot into dex and boost his own attack by 2 times for 1 turn. In a lot of instances, you would only really use it just to give himself a matching slot. That's literally the only reason he was ever used, but like just a beat stick basically. He was just a dex beat stick. And then the final character that was introduced in this Sugo-Fest batch is none other than Toadskii. Toadskii is a strength striker fighter character with a captain effect that would boost the attack of striker and fighters by 1.5 at the start of the chain. However, you get a 3 times boost after your 3rd perfect in a row. Kind of like a mini version of Gear 3 Luffy, I guess. And then a special ability on a 16-turn cooldown would deal 20 times his attack and strength damage to all enemies. And for 2 turns, boost the attack of striker and fighter characters by a variable amount depending on the HP that you have. So very very similar to his, I think was it his dad or his grandfather with Don Chinjiao, where he would give you an orb boost depending on how much health you had. This guy gives you an attack boost for 2 turns. So if you're below 30%, you get a 1.75 times attack boost to your striker and your fighter characters. So you can see if you use Don Chinjiao, Don Sai together, you're at low HP, you actually get some pretty good boosts for multiple turns for your striker teams, right? But overall, this character wasn't really used that much, unless of course you were running that combination of Don Chinjiao and Don Sai on a low HP striker team. But then we get to none other than the big daddy himself, Issho, also known as Fujitora. This character was an int-driven powerhouse character with a captain ability that would boost the HP of Driven by 1.5 times, would boost the attack of Driven by 3 times if they have a beneficial slot, and then would also boost their attack by 1.5 times otherwise. So essentially, you need to have matching slots to get that really high boost, and I mean, you still have a lot of HP to play with, very, very tanky. However, making tandem and recovery slots beneficial to Driven characters was what set him apart. We had characters in the past, like Stronghold Ace, for example, that would give you a 3 times boost if you had a matching slot. If you didn't, it would be a 2 times boost. Now, this is a lot weaker, like a 1.5 times boost if you don't have a matching slot, which really does hurt if you don't get it. But the fact that he does increase the chances of you landing on matching slots naturally by giving you tandem and recovery slots is beneficial as well. Like, that's insanely useful to have, and that's great. So any matching slot or any tandem recovery slot, whatever it is, as long as he's a captain, right, you're going to be getting a lot more matching slots, and if you do get those matching slots, he hits ridiculously hard. This is one of the best captain abilities we saw up until this point, and especially because Driven, they weren't the best class in the game. They didn't have amazing utility, but they had a lot of damage potential. Remember that V1 Doflamingo is also a character that's in the game, giving you a 2 times orb boost, adjacent slots matching, working very well in tandem with this guy. Let's have a look at his special ability though. Special ability, 17 turns, a little bit steep, but it does a 20% health cut to all enemies. But then it says, cuts the HP of each enemy by 20% at the end of the turn, also for the next 3 turns. So if you're able to stall out the enemy, you can just get continuous health cuts over and over and over again to chip away at the HP. Once they're low, you can start spamming a bunch of special abilities. So that was the real draw to Fujitora, is the fact that they had amazing damage potential. And even if you had to run a non-driven unit on your team for a utility effect, that really wouldn't hurt the character that much, considering the damage that they had access to, right? So that's the breakdown of Fujitora, a very powerful legend on release. Let's see what kind of content we're going to be using him today in. Alright, so today we have 3 raid bosses, and these are 3 difficult raid bosses back in 2016. Actually, Clash Sabo, if I remember correctly, didn't release until 2017, but I feel like we should be able to get it done either way. Let's go ahead and have a look here. We've got Clash Akainu, Clash Sabo, but also Clash Hancock. All 3 of these were pretty difficult raid bosses on release, and a lot of people didn't like playing these events because of how difficult they were. So let's go ahead and spin the wheel, and let's see what we're going to be playing against today. Very excited to see what Fujitora is going to be taking on. Let's have a look. And it's going to be Clash Hancock. Okay, I'm not too worried about that. You know, Fujitora has some good type advantage against her, should I say. So let's go ahead into the content. Let's build a team to take on Clash Hancock. Let's do it. And we've now made it in-game with my man Issho, Mr. Fujitora, a Marine Admiral, one of the most powerful people in the Force. He can freely harness gravity to flatten foes to the ground or summon meteors, as well as ride on floating objects to fly through the air. An absolute beast of a character. We've already talked about his abilities, of course, but you can see that this guy right here, we've got him at max special level. We have max Forbidden Tome powers, so he's ready to go, and plus 100 attack and 100 HP. So this is about as ideal as you would get back when he released in 2016. This is the team that we're bringing today to take on Clash Boa Hancock. Now, we do have Golden Pound Usopp, who is not a driven unit as we already know, but he's going to be a valuable asset to the team, providing his 3-turn delay. You've seen him many times in the Legends of OPTC series before. We've also got Recruit Caesar, who's a great addition, allowing us to get 2 turns of an attack boost, because remember, Boa Hancock does revive, so having multiple turns of an attack boost is going to be pretty valuable. And then we've also got Doflamingo as well. Looking back at it, and you know what? You could possibly just put Raid Doflamingo, because you guys will see, I looked up what the actual boss does to kind of prepare for it, of course. I do think that Raid Doflamingo will also suffice. You don't even need Legend Doflamingo. Having it, though, is also very, very valuable, though. And then we've got Treble. Treble's a good unit because he allows us to lock our orbs, meaning that on the boss stage, when the revive happens, we'll be able to lock our slots to keep them for multiple turns, and that's the way that we're going about it. We do use the Doflamingo ship as well, which is a 1.5 attack, 1.35 HP. Does make it a little bit easier to hit our perfects, and then it also has a special to give us a bit of a chain boost as well. So very good for driven-based teams. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the content. So shout out to my girl Karissa for putting up the Fujitora right there. Beautiful, looking absolutely amazing. Max sockets and candy. We're ready to go. So without further ado, guys, let's go ahead and jump into Clash Boa Hancock. Let's do it. Let's get it. And here we are, Clash Boa Hancock Peerless, which is the 60 stamina difficulty. Starting off, we can see that we've got a bunch of giants here. We do not want to take too much damage here. One thing to note is I think, if I remember correctly, stage 2 is a bit of a problem here. We ideally want to leave this stage with like 5 matching slots, like all matching slots on our driven characters, because we're probably going to need it. Let's just kill this character because we're going to be taking a lot of time to stall on the back guys that are here. Use Fujitora to get that KO there. Remember that Fujitora provides the 1.5 attack if you don't have a matching slot, but if you do have a matching slot, you do get access to the 3 times attack boost instead. I think we're just going to take this time to just kill this giant here. Kill with Caesar. Very, very good. So let's see, do we get matching slots on them? We do not get one on Fujitora, so that is a bit of a problem. But remember, he does only have a 1.5 attack boost, so it's actually not even going to kill these turtles. So we can actually use him to do our attacks to ensure that we actually get him a matching slot. He does not have one yet, which is okay. We have plenty of time to stall here. We get 2 hits on these turtles here, but we get a few hits on the lobster. I don't remember how many hits exactly we get on the lobster, but it should be a pretty decent amount. But this is good. We need to get our turns of stall off anyway. We just cannot get this int, recovery, or tandem slot on Fujitora. Still not appearing. Come on, we got to get it sometime soon. I mean, we got plenty of time to stall here, but this is good. There we go. Finally getting a matching slot. I think, you know, technically we wouldn't have that active because remember, Doflamingo with his Sailor effect is making the quick slots beneficial. Because I believe my one is that one. I think is the one that I'm using actually does he have a limit break? He might have a limit break. I don't remember exactly. I think he does have a limit break because I actually don't have an unevolved copy of Doflamingo, so that sucks. But normally those quick slots on our team would not be counted as beneficial. So we realistically would be re-rolling for those slots as well, but there's a pretty high chance that we get matching slots with Fujitora, which is a really cool thing. So this lobster's going down. So stage 2, this is where the Boa Hancock fight like really was super annoying. So we have a bunch of these mobs here. The thing about this stage is that if you do not kill all of these characters, they will apply like mass amount of turns of despair on your friend captain. Now, because we do not have 6 driven characters, we are going to be inflicted with despair, but luckily we have Golden Pound Usopp to provide a bit of help for us. Even if these characters are delayed, they will still actually apply the despair, if I remember correctly. I'm not going to test it, I'm just going to tank the despair. There's no way we're killing 6 characters here, so let's go ahead and do it. Let's go. We should be able to kill 5 of them. Good. And of course, Golden Pound Usopp is unable to get the KO against that last one. So we take a bit of damage, and our friend captain is going to be despaired for, I think it's like, is it 7 turns? How much is it? It's 10 turns, but goes down to, yeah, it goes down to 7. That's right. Right, so that obviously sucks. Having Bind and Despair sockets is very valuable for this quest. At least we will have one friend captain available, so we can at least get a bit of damage off on the enemy, but we will do a little bit of stall to try and get that ready. Okay, so this stage as well was pretty annoying, because if you had a team that was not able to do 26 combo hits, you legit just couldn't do damage to this stage at all. We're going to use the Golden Pound Usopp just to stall the enemy a bit here. Gives us a little bit of free time in order to get our despair removed. I mean, you can see that the despair is on 6, the enemy is on 6, so we're going to have to take 1 hit from the giant, but once that hit expires, we're able to get rid of the despair, which is good. But in that time, we are going to kill off these other giants that are just standing in our way. Got to make sure we get rid of these guys, and as we said, at least we do have at least 3 times attack coming in from one Fujitora, and we do still have the 1.5 attack coming in from the ship as well for our driven team. The ship special is actually ready too, so we'll be able to launch that whenever we need it, so that's really, really good for us. Okay. Kill off this giant. Beautiful. So now we basically are just going to wait until this despair is gone, and then we'll be able to move on. Things are moving pretty smoothly so far, I will say. A little too smooth for my liking. I'm really scared. Hopefully the final stage goes well with Boa Hancock, man. But yeah, Fujitora back in the day was such a powerful unit, man. Being able to provide huge HP and huge damage, more matching slots for Driven, was definitely one of the go-to characters in a lot of content. At this point here, I think I am just going to wait. We're going to tank the hit, and then we'll kind of see what we're doing, because it would be also really good if we get more matching slots for the next stage. The next stage has like a lot of mobs. They don't do anything too crazy, but there is another one of those females that can despair you, and there's also, I think there's definitely at least one seahorse on the next stage that we have to deal with too. Those guys bind your characters. We do not want to deal with that. Luckily for us though, the despair is officially removed. That's a huge, huge thing there. So let's go ahead and do a bit of damage. We didn't get the kill, which is good. But this is kind of annoying. This is a really annoying situation. We could technically stall until the barrier is completely removed, but I'm feeling like moving on. Just hopefully we get some more matching slots for our characters here. Let's see how we got. Not too bad. Could have been a bit better. Would have been nice if one of our Fujitoras got a matching slot. You can see that we have a lot of one-turn cooldown characters. Ideally, though, the female needs to go down, the seahorse needs to go down, and this other seahorse needs to go down. Those characters all need to die. So, without further ado, let's do it. Let's do it. Okay. Just some normal attacks. That was about as perfect as we possibly could have gotten, I think. That was actually really, really good. So now we just have the penguin. Now, the penguin, if he stays alive, I think he puts like, if I remember, what does he do? He does like a rainbow shield, I think, on the enemy, which means that, you know, we just don't do enough damage to them. We don't do like any damage to them at all. So we want to make sure that the penguin dies. That's important that he dies. But we have all of our specials actually, so we can actually just move on to the next stage now. We're actually perfectly fine. Let's move on. And we don't really need to conserve any matching slots, because you'll see that in a little bit, Boa Hancock is going to do some crazy orb shuffle, which is actually very beneficial to Fujitora. So, let's see. We've got Boa Hancock. We're going to go ahead and use the Golden Panda Usopp once again to delay Boa so we don't take too much damage against her. But now, we're also going to be using the awesome effect of Fujitora to cut the enemy's health by 20% and also get the multiple turn of health cut. This is a really nice effect that this character has, and was very good back in 2016 upon release. So good damage there, boom, and let's just do some normal attacks. There's really not much else to talk about until we get some more slots. So we'll just do a bit of damage. We don't want to do too much damage. We're going to let the health cut do all the work there. So now here, the Kuja slot sweep. So we're going to go ahead and get all of our orbs shuffled. You do see we do get some block slots. That's a little bit not ideal. And if you had Raid Doflamingo, you'd probably want to conserve those Tantrum slots so you can move them to the characters that you would want. Luckily, Legend Doflamingo allows us to just generate slots for free, which is good. But we're just going to go ahead and get rid of those, of course. Got a little bit of a notification there, which is fine. We'll go ahead and get rid of that. Alright, so now what have we got? Another health cut there. You see Boa's already got a lot of health reduced. And the Kujahaki is just going to blow away our beneficial effects. But now, this is when we can do our burst turn. So let's use the Doflamingo special ability, giving adjacent slots matching, 2 times all boost to our characters. Very powerful unit for V1 Fujitora back in the day. And we have a full board of slots, which we can go ahead and lock with the Treble. Treble also does a little bit of orb change for himself and the captain, if I do remember correctly. Or maybe it's just the captain. It might be just the captain. But now we can use the Caesar special, which will grant us a 1.75, not a 2.5, but a 1.75 times attack boost to driven characters, and it lasts for 2 turns, which is good, because as we've already established, Boa Hancock will revive, so being able to get another attack boost upon revival is good. But now, with a full board of slots, attack boost, and an orb boost, we can use the special ability of the ship to give us a bit of a chain boost, probably not really required, honestly, and let's see how much damage you do. Let's get it. That's a lot of damage. That is a lot of damage. And the main reason why we wanted to stall a bit is just to make sure that it was safe, and also just generating slots via the Boa Hancock effect is really good. But now when Boa dies, she's going to revive, and then I think she binds one of our units. Yeah, for 99 turns, and that's the best possible unit that she could have binded. Let's use another Fujitora special just because we can. Absolute overkill. We definitely didn't need to do that. But because of Caesar having an attack boost for multiple turns, it actually enables us to keep that, which is great. I actually didn't notice, but I didn't realize that the chain boost from the ship is also multiple turns. That's pretty good. And at this point, let's go ahead and kill Boa Hancock. Done. And that's it. Very, very easy to do it with Fujitora. Very easy. Of course, when this raid boss first came out, I didn't have Fujitora myself, so unfortunately I had to run a bit of an obscure one to beat this, but really awesome that we're able to use Fujitora to get another W. That is awesome. Really long time since I used that character, actually, so yeah, there we go. Fujitora V1 versus Raid Boa. Very successful. And there we have it. That is going to wrap up yet another episode of the Legends of OPTC series. In the next episode, we're going to be covering version 1 Jinbei. Jinbei's a pretty big release because not only did it release a pretty awesome batch of characters, but it also brought the Stronghold characters into One Piece Treasure Cruise Global, which we had been waiting for such a long time. So V1 Jinbei was a very significant release, at least on the global side of One Piece Treasure Cruise. But that is going to conclude today's video with V1 Fujitora. I really hope you guys have enjoyed this video today, and if you guys did enjoy the video, make sure you go ahead and leave a like, and if you want to stay up to date with all of the content that I post, including more One Piece Treasure Cruise content, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below. But other than that, guys, I'll see you guys within the next video.